look at this and say, if I were going to point you to one place to think about now, what might that be?
So I'm going to give you probably my very first starting point I talk to everybody about. And yes, it's in the book, but the book elaborates a little bit more. And that is breathing. Mentioned that because we don't think about breathing, right? It's one of those things our body naturally does. However, if you ever pay attention, and you're probably going to start paying attention to your breathing after this, but we live in a society and in a world where we live this fast-paced life, and it's almost like there's this unspoken expectation that we have to be on the go all the time. Well, what I've learned is our breathing matches that.
Hmm.
So as our breathing matches that fast pace, and you'll recognize this by when people get in a stressful situation, let's say a minor fender bender, what do? We hold our breath, right?
Hmm. True.
And so our breathing kind of starts to match that. Well, what I found is if we think of stress on this lever, right, bottom to top like a thermometer, we're supposed to sit at the bottom, which is our homeostasis. We're fine. We're working from that place of rest. Things don't bother us. We go up in stressful situations and we come down. But constant stressful situations puts our baseline higher, and our breathing matches that. And so one of the things that I have taught and I work with all my clients to start with is we have to slow that breathing down, because when we slow the breathing down, we get those deep diaphragmatic breaths, not just breathing from my lungs. I get two things, right? My stress response starts to come back down to my homeostasis where it should be. I also calm my nervous system. It helps my logical brain, so my ability to rationalize, it keeps that functioning. And so I teach everybody, like, we have to get back to diaphragmatic breathing. And when we do this and we're intentional every day in moments of stress, because we have moments of stress and they help motivate us. But if I'm doing this deep breathing every day in that moment of stress, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to take a deep breath and then I'm going to respond. Whereas right now, when we're always stressed, I just respond and react. And so that's really the foundation of where I start everybody. We have to get back to some diaphragmatic breathing, and there's some specific ways to do that. And I do talk about one or two of those in my book. But we have to slow the stress response down before we can truly take those steps to.
So let me ask you a question. See if I can unpack this in a way that makes sense to me. Um, what I'm hearing is that we know a lot about the different parts of the brain, right? The limbic brain, the executive brain. We talk about, some people call it the reptilian brain. It's the survival brain. They'll argue it's the oldest part of the brain, so it has sort of caveman tendencies to it. Um, and then the amygdala. We talk about the amygdala hijack, which basically means you for a moment you're kind of losing your mind. And we've all been there, right? It's like I can't think. I'm in total reaction mode. I'm with somebody I love, and I am speaking, acting in a way that isn't me. But how do I stop it? So, whatever way, when somebody's saying, "Yeah, I know what that's like," I'm kind of quote out of control. And what you're giving me is a very simple thing to do. If something I can do, I can actually stop and breathe,
Mhm.
and it doesn't just make me feel better, it actually brings my brain back into a healthier place. Am I reading it correctly on this?
Yeah, you're hearing me 100% there. Yeah, and I think another important piece that I would add to that when we're talking about breathing is most people will say, Deidre, I can't remember that in the moment because we're triggered, right? Our stress is triggered.
Mhm.
But when you're intentional and build this practice into your daily life every day, multiple times a day, in the moments of stress, your body will naturally help you take a deep breath without having to think about it, right? It's a
So really
habit.
build a habit.
Hmm.
Wow. Okay. That's yeah. I hadn't thought that way. I like where you're going with this because I'd be the same thing. I'll remember later. I should have stopped and, and breathe, done some deeper breathing. I love the fact that I could make a habit out of this. So this is what you mean by unlocking these dimensions, right?
It is. It's about we have all of this within us, right? That's how God created us. We just have to reconnect to it all and get back to some of that foundation of He wants us to work from a place of rest, not chaos and stress. And breathing is truly, I found, one of our first steps to get there. And I've had clients first go, Deidre, are you serious? Like, that just sounds too simple. And I will say, try it for 2 weeks and then tell me what you think. And they all come back and go, wow, that made a difference. Because the other thing, yes, unlock these different pieces, but I'm also a huge advocate of simple and doable. So anything I teach you is not going to take extra time out of your day. You can fit it within that busyness, but it will be impactful. And we have to find it because it's all in us. I don't give people anything they don't already have. I just help them find it
Mhm.
and bring it back out.
So that's the thesis of the book, and you've given us the model. Are there any other like big pieces of that? Because I want to move to sort of our last question. I prepped you for. We're gonna so to my listeners and those of you watching on YouTube, um, we're gonna get a little advice here from our therapist, our coach, on how to deal with some of this stuff. But any other highlights from the book? I mean, again, I know there's a lot there, but something that just you say, I got to get this across. This is a main point for me to get out there.
Mike, I would probably say my biggest point is what we've been talking about. God does not want us to function from stress. We're supposed to work from a place of rest, right? We rest in him and he's given us all these abilities, and it's getting back to not just these simple things that we can unlock in ourselves, but we have to stay connected to what is our purpose? What's our mission? What are we supposed to be doing? Right? And we can't lose sight of that, because when we start to lose sight of that, we're going to fall into this stress burnout cycle a lot quicker. Uh, and so I think, keys in my book are, yes, simple and doable, but you have to stay connected to what your purpose is. And then, and really it's staying connected to all parts of yourself. We can't segregate ourselves anymore. I'm one being. I'm not different. I have different parts of me that come out in different places, right? My strengths, but we really have to stay connected to that.
I've got to find a way to get you out to the BAM world because it's and